Super Meat Boy is a legendary indie game, and now it's a legendary indie game franchise with Super Meat Boy Forever. This is a new game in the series. It's made by half of the Super Meat Boy creator Team Meat, Tommy Refenes. He's the programmer spearheading this thing. And it's been in development since like 2014. It's an endless runner. It's gonna change how the game plays just a little bit, and it looks really cool. So we sat down with Tommy to talk about Super Meat Boy Forever and the indie industry in general.
When Meat Boy came out, everybody was like, oh, I want to play this on Android, I want to play this on iOS. And of course, that first Meat Boy is not going to work on anything like that because it's very precision stuff. And I actually took a lot of that as like, what are these people nuts? and weirdly, it like put me off. And it took me longer than I care to admit to be like, oh, what they want is they want a game that feels like Meat Boy that they can play on their phones. I was in a hotel room at GDC in 2011, like right after the game came out, and I'm like, I want to see if I can make a one-button Meat Boy. You just basically jump, and when you jump on a wall, you can change directions that way. Something more than like your straight little like cannonballs, just run, jump kind of thing. I wanted something with some depth. And in the hotel room, I had my laptop, which had the Meat Boy code on it and the editor and everything. And I made a couple levels, and I made a little special Meat Boy character that would just always run. And when you would jump off a wall, he would change directions. And I made a couple little test levels, and I'm like, this works. This has some potential. And we didn't work on it until like 2014. And when we started it in 2014, it was like, let's make a little palate cleanser game because we were trying to figure out what was next. A couple things weren't working, and we're like, let's just make something like 3 chapters, 3 levels, put it out there on the phones because it works, and we'll just go from there. We showed it at PAX 2014, PAX West 2014, and people really liked it. And it was like, this is neat. But then like life stuff gets in the way. So like for the next 3 years, there was like no movement on it. After not living a life for so long, it's like, well, I'm gonna live some life a little bit. And really couldn't work on it until 2017. And when 2017 rolled around, I go back and I play the prototype, and I'm like, you know what, this has real potential. And I'm like, I'm not gonna make this a small game anymore. This is going to be the sequel. I feel when people play this game, because I get it at shows and everything, people are like, I was a little skittish about Auto Runner, but when I pick it up, it feels like Meat Boy. And I'm like, good, that's what I'm going for. And like there's a desire creatively for me not to, I don't want to do the same thing over and over. Like to make a Meat Boy sequel the safe way is like HD graphics, 300 more levels, and same game. New bosses, whatever, soundtrack, blah, 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 and just put it out. And like, that financially probably would have been the smarter move, but it's not fun. The story for Forever is like, you know, the characters have grown, so you have Meat Boy and Bandage Girl, now they have a little girl named Nugget, and Nugget's been kidnapped, and Meat Boy and Bandage Girl have to get her, and like, throughout the story, Dr. Fetus is just treating Nugget as a thing, but Nugget's more than a thing. It's like, Nugget is the opposite of Dr. Fetus, where Dr. Fetus is just kind of a trollish dick. Nugget is like pure joy, constant like joy. And it's fun to like write that kind of dynamic and everything. And as you progress through the game, Dr. Fetus becomes more and more of a father because he's got to look after this stupid kid. And he's got to like occupy it because otherwise it'll annoy the shit out of him. So he's got to figure out things. So it's fun to write that little kind of part of it. I really enjoy that. And then I have like 4 animators, so I write like movie scripts, and then I give it to them, and then they animate it all pretty. And I'm like, yay! It's great. I love it. Gameplay by itself is great, but like it takes it to like a next kind of level when there's actually a reason why you're going through everything instead of like collect coin. Like collect coin is fine, but you know, we all need to be more like Kojima and do crazy stories and weird stuff. And I swear they ripped off Dr. Fetus because that is a baby in a jar.
You did.
Yeah. I'm fine with it though.
One day, while our heroes were enjoying life, Dr. Fetus attacked them and kidnapped Nugget!
At the time, when they were like filming us and interviewing us, I didn't really think about it much. And that's actually credit to them being really good, what's the word, documentarians, I guess, because they just sort of blended in. I didn't think it would turn into a movie that goes to Sundance and is on Netflix that like millions of people have watched and recognize me on the street in Starbucks in the middle of nowhere kind of thing. Like that's strange. And like now when I go and show a game, people come up to me and they're nervous to talk to me. And they're like, I watched you in that. And nobody gets the name of the movie right, which is really funny because they're like, you were in that indie game movie. And it's like you have like most of the parts of the title there. And it's not a very complex title, but it's not, yeah, it's one that people can't remember completely because it's so simple. It's surreal, it's weird to be, like the Ori guys came up to me and like, oh, this game was such an inspiration to us. I'm like, are you serious? Like, your game was like showcased in this thing. Like, I feel like they are treating more developers better because they realize it's better for their business and it just makes sense. And it doesn't take a lot of bandwidth to do that. Like ID at Xbox has like, that's their job is to just help, you know, and promote and stuff. And Sony has their own team and Nintendo has their team, and it just makes sense for them. So it was weird when we were doing Meat Boy. It was always like this stigma that the indie developer, you don't do marketing. You know, that's corporate bullshit. Like, but that's kind of what you have to do now if you seriously want to make it into a job. I mean, you can still be a hobbyist. You can still just like put a game out on Steam for fun and just see how it does. But if you want to make a living, you know, you gotta be like serious about it. Marketplaces are saturated. I mean, you have, I think more games came out this week on Steam than did the full year that Meat Boy came out. And that is a problem, but I believe that's a solvable problem by, and it's unfortunate, but you have to treat it like a business. Like, you're an indie developer. It used to be you just put out a game on Steam and you're good to go. Like, they'll feature it, you know, people will see it, it'll be at the top of the new releases, and that's your marketing campaign. It's not that anymore. It's harder, but the opportunities are greater there. Like 10 years ago, Tunic would not have been on a Microsoft stage. Like Meat Boy would not have been in a sizzle reel on a thing. Like, it's just, it was a struggle to get it into E3 in 2010 when we first showed it. And now it's just like, hey, we got a whole thing and you can just be on the Xbox stage, whatever, we don't care. So there's definitely more opportunities for more independent developers that take it like super serious.
Super Meat Boy Forever is scheduled to come out this year on all the major platforms. That's PS4, Xbox One, and Nintendo Switch. And mobile is going to come a little bit later. So we're here at E3 all week. Stay tuned to Engadget.com for all the news.